In the last video, we saw about the differences between brain, chitta, intellect, and how we perceive things. To sum up what we talked about in the last video, brain is the physical organ which collects stimuli or the information that surrounds us, and intellect discriminates what is right, what is wrong, what is correct or incorrect. It is under the direction of the Chitta. So Chitta is a concept unique to Indian philosophy, especially the yoga. So Chitta is that part of the mind. It exists on a higher plane and it directs the mind to perceive a thing from a perspective. If we look at something, we have our own subjective perception of that. All of us have different notions about it's the same thing. Let us talk about even the value systems we have. The value systems differ. That is, when what is good for some is not good for others. So this judgment comes from the discrimination exercised by the mind under the direction of the Chitta. Chitta, as I said in the last video, is pure knowledge. As the definition or the attributes of reality, which is beyond attributes, basically it is expressed in three terms: Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means being. The second is Chit. Chit is pure knowledge. Then is Ananda, that is bliss, pure bliss. So when we have pure knowledge, how can it be that the knowledge that exists in particular Chitta in a particular individual is different, in fact totally contradictory to what other experience? That is, if pure knowledge is Chitta, how is it what appears to be right to me appears to be wrong to you? It cannot be, because knowledge should be one and it should be absolute. Now there are two perspectives on this. That is, one from the Advaitic standpoint of view, which says all knowledge is relative. Absolute knowledge is not possible for the human being because of space and time constraint. I'll talk about that in the next video. Now we'll take the other point, which we can express this concept of how Chitta gets clustered or tainted by our karma. That is the reason why it becomes ignorant, and the knowledge which the individual has in Chitta is not pure. So the Chitta is an accumulation of the impressions of the actions and the reactions which we have been performing throughout this life, and also in the past life. For the time being, let us leave the past side apart. Let us look at the present life. When we perceive a thing, let me use the term see. Perceive is a very all-encompassing term. When we see a thing, we have an opinion about it. That is a value judgment. See, if we look at something, we like something. We like some people and we don't like some people. Why? Because we have certain tendencies, that is, we call as predispositions. One individual is made up of a lot of basic qualities. Loosely it is defined as the totality of personality in modern psychology. So our choices in life are dependent on how we are disposed. A talent one has is inherited. Whether it is inherited or it is acquired, it is still, there is a debate going on. But still, especially when you take the level of in the field of fine arts, music, dance, precocious mathematicians, all these people have talent even as a child. The child at that stage has not had any exposure to any of these things, how come these children are so precautious in a particular field? It is because of the accumulation of karma. Karma, loosely, people use it for everything, but in Sanskrit, the term karma means only action. Any action that is performed is called a karma. So, when we perform a karma, what happens? See, an action can be performed at three levels. One is at the mental level, second through the mouth, mental through the mouth, and the third by action. So, when we want to perform an action, a concept is formed in our mind. Once the concept is formed, it again gets translated into speech. That is at the speech level. Third is the physical level, that is body. We do certain things through hand, through feet, eyes, whatever organ we have, 5 organs of action, and we perform. So all these things are taken as action. The moment we think of an action, the moment we think of a concept, we have choices to choose from. Even for a concept, even the minutest concept, you have choices to make. For example, if there is a glass of juice, at the concept level, you decide. Let us say you decide to take the juice. At the conceptual level, you already have 2 choices minimum. Minimum is either you want to take it because you like it, you don't want to take it because you don't like it. So that choice is made. So when the choice presents itself, that itself is an action, irrespective of the fact whether you follow one concept to its fruition, that is by drinking it. Even before that, an action is performed in choosing. That is, I want to choose because there are 2 choices. I like this, I want to take it. Another one is, I don't like it, I don't want to take it. Ultimately, you take what you like. But again, the impression that I do not want to take it also exists in your mind as a concept. Right? Till this, everything is clear. Then, you start taking a juice. Then it is being performed by your hand, and then you drink it by mouth. Okay? Right. Now, when you are looking at it, the action is performed by the act of seeing. The second is, seeing is different from the act of seeing, because you may have eyes, that is, you perceive. Then you have to see it. That is the action. The optic nerve has to carry it to the brain, and the brain has to transfer it as an object and refers to some of the general principles of what exactly is it, and then it identifies. So, the action of seeing is different from the physical eye. So, the physical eye is called the Karmendriya, that is, it sees. Jnanendriya is the act of seeing, you see. So, at these both the levels, what happens is an action is performed, and it is a form of energy in the mind. The energy is consists of magnetic or electrical discharges. So, modern science says it's electrical discharges, and our texts, especially Buddhist texts, say that it is magnetic discharges. These discharges are a form of energy. This energy, being energy, can never be destroyed, though they remain forever. So, what happens once that action is done? What happens to the choice which we have not made? Here in this case, what we have not drunk, the choice of not drinking, that was also a thought, that was also an energy. What has happened to that, and what happens to all these energies which we produce by way of thinking? Let us see in the next video. Please reflect upon this. It's a little abstract, and you have to think deeply on this before we proceed further.